short video blog talking about Delta's latest multi-client study focusing on microgrids. My name is Andy Bradley. I'm a Delta director.
And hello, my name is John Murray and I'm a senior analyst here at Delta.
So just in the next few minutes we'll be taking you through what we're planning for this multi-client study, providing you with a summary of the focus and some more details about the work we'll be doing. So as a starting point, we thought we'd just explain what we mean by microgrids. So John, would you like to just describe where we're focusing in terms of this research?
Yeah, so in the context of this multi-client study, our definition of a microgrid will be one which contains three features. So I'm just going to talk you through those three features just now quickly. So the first feature is local distributed electricity generation and storage. So this could be solar PV, it could be gas engines or diesel gensets, micro wind, for example, alongside, in a lot of cases, energy storage, often in the form of batteries. So that's the first feature. And then the second feature is local consumers of energy, whether that's industrial consumers, commercial buildings, multifamily homes. And then the third feature is dynamic system control. So microgrid, which combines all these different assets, whether it's generation assets or consumers of energy, and they're controlled in a dynamic way where they're optimized to operate in the most efficient, most low-cost way.
So in our definition of microgrids, are those assets all located quite closely together physically?
Yeah, so in our definition of a microgrid, all these assets are within a local grid below a substation or transformer. So they're all connected within their own kind of microgrid. And microgrids, in our definition, they can be connected to the transmission grid or completely islanded, so completely remote from that grid. And we'll be looking at both examples within our study.
Okay. And when I look at that illustration, I mean, there's a lot of different types of equipment there, and some of it is quite expensive. I know costs are changing quite quickly, particularly for storage. But I mean, what are the economics like for microgrids? They might be quite challenging, I think.
Yeah, you're right, Andy. I mean, there can often be a lot of capital tied up within microgrids, a lot of assets. But in a lot of times, these assets have already been deployed. And so actually the additional cost to create a microgrid is not so high. And in this study, microgrids can't be deployed everywhere. So we'll be looking at looking to identify the circumstances where microgrids make sense and where the value is the greatest.
Okay, thanks, John. And in terms of the scope of the study, we'll be looking globally for the study?
Yeah, we'll be looking globally. So what we've got on this slide here is, well, it's a map of the world, and we've highlighted 20 countries here that we've looked at already as part of one of our other services, the Distributed Power Service, which looks at global markets for gas engines. So within this microgrid study, we'll be utilizing our existing global research, and looking at those 20 countries as a base case, but then also looking at other emerging markets, for example, in Africa.
Okay, and when you look at the countries highlighted there, do you think any of those are particularly interesting for microgrids? Yeah,
well, I mean, there's the different applications for microgrids. So if I give you the example of the US, grid resiliency is an increasing issue because of superstorm events and blackouts occurring, and microgrids are increasingly looked as an option there to try and mitigate those issues. In emerging markets where there perhaps isn't the infrastructure yet, and there's no reliable access to electricity, microgrids can be seen as an alternative, more cost-effective solution. So you can have solar PV, for example, and energy storage deployed in an island mode for these remote locations to have a reliable electricity grid. Industrial applications, so we hear that the mining industry is one which is increasingly looking at microgrids to provide a more cost-effective and low-carbon option for their energy-intensive operations. And then as a fourth example, in Europe, community energy is one that's coming through very strongly for microgrids, where you can see the rise in local solar PV and intermittent renewables, and using microgrids as a way to harness those distributed assets.
Okay, so there's a range of different circumstances where microgrids might make sense. But I mean, why now with microgrids? I mean, in some of the conversations I've had, I've detected perhaps a little bit of cynicism sometimes around microgrids. The idea seems to have been around for a very long time, decades. So why now? Why does it make sense to look at microgrids now, do you think?
Yes, well, I mean, it's a good question. And over the last 18 months, 2 years, microgrids has really come through as a topic of growing interest among our research contacts and subscribers. I don't think there's any single one reason why microgrids is something that's really coming through at this stage. I think there's a number of reasons. One is that energy storage costs are falling and solar PV costs are falling and have done a lot in the last 3 or 4 years. And that makes microgrids a much more appealing proposition. In some countries around the world, stricter emission limits are forcing some to move away from conventional solutions, like diesel gensets, for example, toward more cleaner alternatives. And microgrids can be a very effective way to do this. Just that general trend of more on-site intermittent renewables, putting increasing strain on the electricity grids at a local level. So microgrids with energy storage can be a way of mitigating those issues. And then finally, I think it's generally accepted that in some parts of the world there's going to be an increase, in the medium longer terms for extreme weather events in the future, and that makes grid resiliency an even more important topic. So there really is a perfect storm, if you like, of events taking place, which is making people more interested in microgrids today.
Okay, yeah, okay. So there's a range of triggers there for microgrids. Okay, so more specifically, John, on this new research, this new study. I mean, what are we focusing on, and what are we going to be including within the study?
Yeah, so we bring up here just our provisional contents page, if you like, for the study. So we'll be looking at a number of different things. In the early part of the study, we'll be looking at defining what microgrids are and the different applications, and we've talked about some of those already. So we'll be looking at that and bringing through some case studies. So looking at who's been investing in microgrids, what technologies have they deployed, what's the business case that's being used to drive those microgrid projects. We'll be looking at who the players are investing in microgrids, so whether that's utility companies, network companies, the manufacturers, and looking at why they're doing so and doing so now, and the partnerships that are coming through. So, is that a partnership with a manufacturer and a utility company and a software developer? So who's developing those microgrid packages? So that's going to be a really interesting part, I think, of the study. A really core part is going to be looking at the business models and the value chains. So really, why are people investing in microgrids? How can you make money from these things? What are the business models that are going to be most prevalent going forward?
And on that specific issue, John, I mean, we'll be working quite closely with some of our energy storage colleagues, focusing on the energy storage topic, or indeed demand response.
Yeah, so the existing research that we're doing on energy storage, demand response, our distributed power service, they play into this microgrid topic very well. So within this study, we'll be synthesizing our learnings from those different services to really answer some of the specific questions on microgrids.
Okay, thanks. And in terms of the geographical focus for the study, it is a global study.
Yeah, global study, looking at the different applications for microgrids in different parts of the world. So looking at the global hotspots for microgrids, and for some of the key countries that we're going to be focusing on, looking at some of the policy and other market drivers which will be promoting microgrids, and then finally looking at our future view of what's the future for microgrids, and how will future microgrids look, and how should companies position themselves to benefit from microgrids going forward.
Okay, thanks, John. And just briefly, what's the timescale for the study?
So we'll be kicking off the microgrid study in January 2017 and delivering in Q2, so the second quarter. So second quarter of 2017.
Okay, so the work and the study will be complete over the first half of 2017. Okay, fantastic. Okay, well, thanks very much, John. We are in the process of discussing the study with quite a number of companies at the moment. There is still the opportunity to benefit from a early bird discounting for the study. So if you would like to participate in the study, early subscribers not only get a price discount, but can also influence the focus and the specific nature of the report itself. So if you are interested in the study, please do contact us quickly, because there's still an opportunity to have those kinds of shaping discussions before we get too far with the research. If you'd like more information to discuss it, then please feel free to contact John or myself directly. Our contact details are on the slide here, or indeed visit our website. So we hope you found this interesting and useful, and please do get in touch with us directly if you would like to get more information and have a discussion. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.